The ocean had always been Alice Carter's escape. Her house sat on the edge of a cliff, overlooking the Atlantic, where the tides whispered secrets to the wind. She had lived here alone since her husband, Daniel, had vanished at sea 3 years ago. His boat had been found, but his body never was. Tonight, something felt wrong. The news had warned of an eclipse, one that would darken the sky over the ocean for an unusually long time. Scientists were calling it a rare lunar anomaly, but Alice felt an unease she couldn't explain. She stood at the large glass window in her living room, staring at the restless waves. The moon hung low, its glow about to be swallowed by the encroaching shadow. A sudden chill swept through the house. Alice shivered and pulled her cardigan tighter around her shoulders. The heater was on, but the air felt unnaturally cold, as if the house itself was exhaling a breath of ice. Then she saw it. A figure stood at the edge of the water. A woman. Alice's breath hitched. No one should be out there. The beach below her house was private, isolated. The woman was facing the ocean, long, dark hair cascading down her back like seaweed. Her white dress clung to her frame, damp from the waves. Something about her was deeply unsettling. Alice grabbed her phone, debating whether to call the police. Maybe it was just a lost traveler, or someone walking in a daze. But before she could move, the woman turned her head slightly. Not fully, just enough to reveal part of her face. Alice gasped. The woman's skin was deathly pale, her cheek hollowed, her lips colorless. But it was her eye that made Alice's blood run cold. The one eye visible in the moonlight was entirely black. Then, the eclipse began. Darkness spilled across the sky, swallowing the moon in an ink-black void. The room dimmed instantly, the ocean vanishing into shadow. The woman at the shore blurred into the darkness. Alice's heart pounded. She turned to switch on a lamp, and froze. A wet footprint marked the wooden floor behind her. She wasn't alone. Alice's breath came in short, uneven gasps as she stared at the wet footprint on the wooden floor. It was fresh, glistening under the dim emergency light she had switched on when the eclipse began. The air was thick with dampness, a salty stench clinging to her nostrils, as if the ocean itself had seeped into the walls of her house. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs felt cemented to the ground. She forced herself to turn around. Slowly. Nothing. The living room was empty, the large glass window still showing the churning ocean below, though now obscured by the suffocating darkness of the eclipse. The woman she had seen by the shore was gone. Or worse, she was inside. Alice took a shaky step back, her mind racing. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe the damp footprint was from an earlier spill, and her paranoia was making her see ghosts. Then, something creaked from the hallway. Alice snapped her head toward the sound. It came from the direction of her bedroom. Swallowing hard, she grabbed a fire poker from beside the fireplace and forced herself to move. Each step felt like she was walking through thick fog, her body resisting the journey toward the unknown. The hallway was unnervingly silent. She reached her bedroom door and hesitated. It was slightly ajar, the gap revealing nothing but darkness within. With a trembling hand, she nudged it open further, the old hinges groaning. The room was empty. No sign of an intruder. The windows were locked. The bed was undisturbed. Alice exhaled sharply, pressing a hand to her chest. Maybe she had overreacted. Maybe stress and loneliness were finally taking their toll. Then she heard it. A whisper. Guttural. Wet. Like someone speaking through water. Alice turned sharply. A woman stood in the reflection of her vanity mirror. Alice's stomach dropped. The woman was inside the mirror. Her dark hair floated unnaturally, as if submerged in deep water, her pale lips moving soundlessly. Black eyes locked onto Alice's, hollow and soulless. Alice stumbled back, the fire poker slipping from her fingers and clattering to the floor. The whispering grew louder, though the woman's lips remained soundless in the reflection. Then, suddenly, the whisper stopped, and the woman in the mirror smiled. Not a human smile. A grin too wide, revealing jagged, blackened teeth. Alice screamed. The room plunged into absolute darkness as the eclipse reached its peak. Something wet touched her shoulder. To be continued. Alice's scream barely left her throat before the darkness consumed everything. The air turned heavy, thick with the scent of salt and decay. A wet, ice-cold touch lingered on her shoulder, sending a violent shudder through her body. She spun around, blindly reaching for anything to hold on to. The fire poker, where had she dropped it? Her hands clawed at empty space. Then, a breath, rasping, gurgling, right against her ear. Alice. The whisper was deep, waterlogged, as if it came from a throat filled with seawater. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The voice, it was familiar. Daniel. A sob caught in her throat. No, you're dead. The shadows shifted, a sickly cold presence circling her. Come back to me, Alice, down in the dark, where I am. A shape moved in the mirror. The woman was still there, her black eyes gleaming. But she wasn't alone anymore. Behind her, a figure loomed in the glass. A man, his face bloated, his skin tinged with the sickly blue of the drowned. His eyes were hollow, black pits that wept seawater. Alice stumbled back. Daniel. The thing that had been her husband tilted its head. Water dripped from its lips as it whispered, "Join us." The shadows surged. Alice's feet slipped, and she hit the floor hard. Her vision blurred, darkness pressing in on all sides. She scrambled backward, her hands splashing into something wet. The floor, her entire bedroom floor, was covered in water. No, not water. It was the ocean. The wooden boards were gone, replaced by the endless abyss of a black sea stretching beneath her. Cold, swirling waves wrapped around her legs, dragging her down. She screamed, kicking, clawing at the air. The woman in white was still watching from the mirror, grinning that jagged, unnatural smile. The glass surface rippled like disturbed water. Alice's head dipped under, icy liquid flooding her lungs. She was drowning, in her own house. A final whisper curled through the darkness. The ocean takes what it is owed. Then, light, a blinding silver glow. The eclipse was ending. The shadows recoiled, the house snapping back into reality. Alice gasped, coughing violently. She was lying on her bedroom floor, dry, trembling, her lungs burning. The mirror was shattered. The whispering was gone. The ocean below was calm. But as Alice dragged herself to her feet, she knew the truth. Daniel was still out there, waiting beneath the waves. And next time, the ocean wouldn't let her go. The end